All right, good morning, traders. Today is April 22nd, 2026. My name, Coach Carignan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room, day trading division of the Hit and Run Candlesticks family. Thank you, everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you so much for your subscriptions, for following my content, liking my content, subscribing to my content, leaving kind words on the content. Special shout out to anybody that shares my content. I just want to acknowledge Bob Jordan, John Jordan, Kathy, Sarah Roasted, Ed Carter, Rick Sadler, anybody that helps get the good word out there to the World Wide Web. Appreciate that. Helping people be better traders. All right, let's take a look at the markets this morning. Let's take a look at the markets yesterday. Let's summarize everything that happened. My SPY pivot this morning, I hope that's the same thing. I think it was 706. Let's take a peek. Yeah, 706.75. 706.75 is the pivot this morning, okay? Back up to the summary. All right, so my SPY pivot this morning, 706.75. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Why does this look bad? Okay, so I got the wrong one up there. That will do it every time when you got the wrong one up there. Quick access. Let's try this one right here. There we go, 706.75. Okay, above it I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. IWM, QQQ, and T2123 made new all-time highs. SPY and Diamond Down made outside days, closing inside bullish traps and over their 17 EMAs. Stinker, an inside day. It's a lower high and a higher low. Closed inside a bullish trap over the 17. SPY closed 2-hour downtrend and a 2-candle 10-minute downtrend. Gold made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bearish cross and under the 17 EMA. Silver, same thing, lower high, lower low, closing under a bullish trap and under the 17 EMA. USO, higher high, higher low, closing over a bearish trap and over the flat 17. UNG made a lower high and a lower low, closing over a bearish trap but under the 17 EMA. US dollar index still in that daily downtrend. Closed near the 98.42 area. SPY Max Pain 705 with a put to call ratio of about 1.2 puts for each call that expires today at 4:15. Remember, those index options expire 4:15. Security options expire at 4. If this is your first time seeing this, these are all in daily downtrends under the 17. These are all in daily uptrends over the 17. If they got a little star next to it, they're building out a bull flag or a launch pad from which to launch higher. If they got a dash, means they already did the breakout. If they got a little star here, they're building out a bear flag or a platform from which to dive lower. All right, if they got a little dash, means they already did the breakdown right there. So over the 17, under the 17, daily uptrends, daily downtrends. Okay, let's take a look at the market. Actually, let's take a look at what the guidance was for yesterday. And let's see if we can pull that up for guidance. So here's guidance yesterday. Pretty sure that was it. Hope I got the right one. Observe bearish pre-market consolidation under Friday's. Maybe that's not it. I think it was not. That's not it. I think it was this one right here. Yep, this is the one. Okay, observe bullish pre-market consolidation over yesterday's consolidation. Plan to trade a 10-minute uptrend over 71030. There was an uptrend over 71030 that was cut short. And then we had a little meltdown yesterday. And I said I plan to trade a 10-minute downtrend below 707.75. Let's go see how that panned out yesterday. All right, let's take a peek at that. So you can see we got this little 10-minute uptrend, all right, that went over 1030 right about there. Okay, did about 2 candles and then rolled over on us. Then we got below 707.75, which would be right. We got underneath that 707.75, and we had a meltdown down to almost yesterday's lows down to the 704 area, and then in the late evening hours near the close, we came down here and did the measured move, which brought us down to around 703, 702.64. 703 was the target for that one. So the guidance you can see right there that I shared with the group. The first part did work out, but not very far. Okay, kind of got crushed immediately. But the second part should have made your profits right there. So on the SPY right there. So let's take a look at the 10-minute chart. Okay, we got 2 candle downtrend. That's it. 1, 2. That's it. Two candle 10-minute downtrend. On the 2-hour chart, we've got. Let's take a peek at this one right here. You can see the sticks and the 3 lining up underneath the 3. 6 sticks and the 3 lining up underneath the 8. All right, got a little bit of daylight in there, so we got a 2-hour downtrend coming into the close on the 2-hour chart. On the daily chart, we've got outside day. That's higher high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over that rising 17 EMA right there. So on the daily chart, we'll take it over here on the scratch with the quad lines on there. You can see we're at the top. I'll take you back here. Here's April. This is our origin of our rally. Okay, so that takes us up here, makes a new all-time high right there. All right, right here, right about January, new all-time high. Several new all-time highs along the way, but there's our latest new all-time high was in January, February. Okay, so we're up here at the top of quadrant 4. And you can see just 2 days ago, 3 days ago, we made a new all-time high right up there. So you can see price action, top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. All right, we haven't made any lower lows, so we're still in an uptrend right there. So SPY on the daily chart, bullish, and in an uptrend, kind of taking a breather. All right, just kind of resting. All right, for a couple days, which is good. All right, so bullish and in an uptrend on the daily time frame. On the weekly time frame, we are up here at the top, making higher highs, higher lows, and top of quadrant 4, that's going to be bullish and in an uptrend. Monthly chart, going to be up here, top of quadrant 4, bullish and in an uptrend. See all the green dots? That's bullish and an uptrend. We haven't made any lower lows, so we're still making higher highs. So bullish and an uptrend on the monthly chart. Let's take a look at QQQ, and we'll take a look at that on the 10-minute. 10-minute, same as SPY, got a little 2 candle downtrend right here. A little bit of daylight between the 3 and the 8. Not so much in the pre-market though. All right, so 10-minute downtrend, 2 candle, 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour chart, we've got just consolidation. You can see the 3 is crossing below the 8 right here. There's no daylight between the 8 and the 3. So we got 2-hour bullish consolidation on the QQQ. On the daily candle, okay? So QQQ made new all-time high yesterday. So that's got to be bullish and an uptrend. Hard not to be bullish in an uptrend when you're making new all-time highs. QQQ made new all-time high again yesterday on the daily chart. So we'll back way out. You can see the origin of the move starts back here in April. We come up, make several new all-time highs along the way, and then we finally break out, make a new all-time high here, and then another one here today. So yesterday, QQQ on the daily chart. So that's going to be bullish. All right, obviously in an uptrend. Weekly candle, going to be the same thing. Bullish, top of quadrant 4, bullish. All right, making higher highs and in an uptrend. Monthly candle, bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, I trade SPY. But let me just say, look at the 10-day ATR. Okay, you get much better price performance out of QQQ than you would out of SPY. See the ATR for QQQ 840. If we go back to SPY, just a little thing to make a note of, 646. Okay, so the average daily move 646, and then you got QQQ. All right, QQQ. All right, back here 840. So you're getting better performance out of your QQQ. So if you're interested in a better performing vehicle, and I know I trade SPY pretty often, so QQQ is pretty much correlated with the SPY. So if you ever see me take a trade on the SPY, probably same trade is setting up in the QQQ, and you'll get much better performance out of the QQQ. You should, anyways. But anyways, there's NASDAQ on the monthly chart. That's bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at daily charts for Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow puts in an outside day, higher high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap. Okay, middle of quadrant 4, maybe up top of quadrant 4, near the top, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. They got a high here. They made a higher high. That was a high. They made a higher high. So they're bullish and in an uptrend on Diamond Dow. IWM, new all-time high on IWM. So that's bullish and in an uptrend. Again, here's the origin of our rally here. Okay, T2123 also put in a new all-time high. Okay, so there's IWM. Let's take a look at Stinker. Stinker yesterday, I'm going to take this off. All right, and Stinker is an inside day. It's a lower high, higher low. Closed in a bullish trap over the all-time high anchored VWAP, over the midpoint. Okay, over the rising 17 EMA. All right, give me just a minute. I got to take a little break. I'll pause the video. Come right back. Going to answer your door. All right, I'm back. All right, so Stinker up here, not quite in the upper third, not in the lower third, so it's neutral, but on the bullish side of the midpoint. All right, so it's neutral and in an uptrend because we got a high here, made a higher high, so that is neutral and an uptrend on Stinker. Let's take a look at silver. Silver got a lower high, lower low. Gold did the same thing, lower high, lower low. Silver closed underneath a bullish trap and underneath the flat 17, underneath all-time high anchored VWAP. It's in the middle of quadrant 3 right here. So that's neutral on the bullish side. So that's neutral. It hasn't made any lower lows, so it's neutral and still in an uptrend right there on silver. Gold. See, gold did the same thing. Lower high, lower low, closing underneath bearish cross. Underneath the flat 17, underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. A little bit different on gold. Gold is in the bottom of quadrant 4, so that's bullish. And they haven't made any lower lows yet, so they're still in an uptrend on GLD. All right, let's take a look at USO. So USO, nice day yesterday. Higher low, higher high, closing over. Bearish trap over the flat 17. Up here in the bottom of quadrant 4, that's going to be bullish. And they got a high right here. They made a higher high, so they're now in an uptrend once again. Okay, so they broke this low, got themselves in a downtrend. Okay, and then they broke this high right here, this valley. All right, little 4-candle valley right here. So now they're back in an uptrend right there on USO. So bullish and in an uptrend for USO. Let's take a look at UNG. All right, UNG is, it's going to be a little bit difficult. I think it's a lower high and a lower low. And we closed over a bearish trap. We closed under the falling 17. That's those red dots right there. And this is the all-time low back here in January 2026. I'm going to pan out here. This is a 12-month high anchored VWAP. Okay, 12-month high. That's it, just 12. Not the all-time high, just a 12-month high. Okay, so this is the all-time low right here. You can see how close we are to taking out the all-time low. We are bearish because we're in the lower third. We're down here in bottom quadrant 1, so that's bearish. All right, and we're in a downtrend because you can see there is a valley low there, and we made lower lows. So we haven't made a higher high yet, so we're still in a downtrend. So you could call it one of those dysfunctional downtrends in that we're now melting up or moving to the right as opposed to moving lower. Okay, so there's UNG, dysfunctional downtrend, and bearish down here at the bottom of quadrant 1. So that's UNG. That would be nat gas. All right, let's take a look at technicals, T2101. Okay, so here is, we kind of melted down a little bit, lost a little bit of participation, market breadth right there. So that's good for me because you don't want to see the market go down and everybody pile on. You don't want to see like an increase in participation. That would be a bearish sentiment, okay? The fact that participation and market breadth, absolute breadth, dropped off a little bit while we dipped, all right, or had like a little correction right there on T2101. That's a bullish sign, or I'm just going to call it a neutral sign. Not really bullish, not really bearish, kind of just neutral, all right, kind of coincides with the current environment, which is bullish, all right? So I like that. That's good for me. I like that. T21, because I'm a bull. I'm bullish, all right? T2122, all right? We spent the day. Remember I said we could spend about 5, 6, 7 days up here in the overbought zone. Well, we spent 5. All right, so yesterday, okay, here it is. We got bumped out of the overbought zone. We overstayed our welcome right here. So we had to, pick up the tents, pick up the camp, move it to another location. So here we are in the buy zone, camped out inside the buy zone. That's still bullish right there, okay? Not moving in the right direction, but still bullish up there in the buy zone. You can see us up here over the midpoint. That would be the 50-yard line, this gold line right in the middle. Okay, so we're on the buyer side, the bullish side of the 50-yard line up here in the buy zone. So we're still bullish right there, all right? I'm still bullish right there. You can see up there in the buy zone. Okay, so price action for yesterday. Actually, you can see T2123. You're going to see it in a second here. Made new all-time high. So there's information that's valuable for us. T2122, bullish right there. T2123, 15-minute chart. You can see we've made a new. You can see daylight. If you squint your eye, you can see daylight up there. Can you see it? You got to squint. All right, so up there on T2123, 15-minute chart, new all-time high for T2123. So if you got a new all-time high on the 15, you're also going to get one on the 3-bar chart. But obviously, you can see we're up over the rising 200 SMA. That's where you want to be if you're a bull, all right? That's an excellent place to be. Also, look at the bullish gap up, all right? And look, the bears never filled the gap all day long on T2123. Totally different story if you looked at the SPY. All right. You notice they had a meltdown. Look at T2123. This is kind of a melt up. This kind of encompasses all of the stocks in the NYSE. All right. And with no weighted ones. All right. So that's why you got a different outlook than you do from the SPY. SPY's got weighted stocks in there. So in other words, you got big stocks like Microsoft and Google, all right? They carry a lot of market cap, so they happen to carry a big percent of the SPY or take up a big percent of the SPY, whereas the others don't get quite as much of the same impact in the SPY. It only kind of geared towards the ones with the high market cap, all right? So you got a totally different situation when everybody's on equal ground and we're not measuring market cap. Here you got T2123, which is the cumulative 4-week new high, new low ratio. as you can see, new all-time high for T2123. And we were talking about it. That could happen, and it did. All right, so there's T2123, new all-time highs. Obviously, I don't need to say anything else. That's bullish and in an uptrend. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's hard to make new all-time highs and not be bullish and in an uptrend. We'll look at the 3-bar chart. Okay, you can see right there, obviously top of quadrant 4. All right, new all-time high, so bullish uptrend. You're up over this rising 200 SMA. That's where you want to be if you're a bull, right there. Okay, over the midpoint, over the rising 200. Obviously, new all-time highs, bullish, and in an uptrend. T2123. Okay, so here's FNGU. Not quite as pretty as T2123. All right, so here's FNGU. All right, so you can see here we got a low, and yes, not yesterday, but the day before we made lower lows. So that, all right, that crushed the 15-minute uptrend, started a 15-minute downtrend. So there's a high. We did not make a higher high right there. Notice that's not higher than that, so still did not able to negate the downtrend because we haven't made a higher high yet. So we look at this, and we've got a low. Didn't make any lower lows, but because we didn't make any higher highs, we're left off with a continuation of that 50. Remember, it's just a 15-minute downtrend. You can see a bearish gap down. Not yesterday, but the day before. See that bearish gap down. See where the separation. You got a little bit of daylight in there. If you kind of squint real hard, you can see the daylight. So bearish gap down, not filled by the bulls yet on the FNGU. This is probably 10 of the most heavily weighted stocks in the QQQ and the SPY. That's the big reason I follow the FNGU. And, you don't have to follow the FNGU. You could follow the Mag 7. Either way, just get your fill of some of the heavyweights because they carry a big stick when it comes to moving the SPY and the QQQ. Obviously, you can see from what they've done, able to bring the SPY all the way back up there. Now, some of them are bullish and some of them are just kind of quasi-bullish at this time if you look at those individually. All right, so FNGU is over the rising 200 SMA. It's where you want to be if you're a bull. Over the all-time high VWAP again. Excuse me. That's where you want to be if you're a bull. We're up here. I'll try to encompass as much time of the FNGU as I can on the 15-minute chart. We're up in quadrant 4, so that's bullish. We're in a 15-minute downtrend for lack of not making a higher high. That's the only reason, okay? So we're bullish and in a 15-minute downtrend currently. Remember, we're still up over that rising 200, still up over that all-time high anchored VWAP, still up over the midpoint. So it's bullish 15-minute downtrend on FNGU. Let's take a look at US dollar index. Remember the daily chart? If you remember when I mapped it out, it was neutral because it was in the middle of quadrant 3. All right, and in an uptrend on FNGU on the daily chart. Okay, so on the 15-minute, you can see there's a high. They're making higher highs right here, but if you zoom in here, these ones underneath the 15, underneath the 17 EMA right here, which is these dots. Okay, so they got a low. They made a lower low. Still have not made a higher high, so we're still stuck with that lower low. See, we're melting up a little bit right there today. So there's FNGU. All right, I'm going to take this out of there because it just gets in the way. All right, so there's FNGU. Take a look at US dollar index. Okay, so here's our 2025 high. We put in a series of lower highs and lower lows. So there's a 6-month downtrend in the US dollar index. Okay, and then we go from a 6-month downtrend into almost a 12-month bear flag over here to the right. Okay, so big hockey stick right there. Okay, so there's US dollar index. All right, so we're in a daily downtrend. All right, we've tried to break into this zone up here, this consolidation zone. We failed 5 times. Once, double top here, and another double top here. Right now, we've got a low right here, and you can see obviously we're making lower lows. We haven't made any higher highs, so we're still in that daily downtrend, making lower highs and lower lows. All right, so there's U.S. dollar index still in the bear flag and in a downtrend right there. So I don't know. If we linger here too long, maybe we get another melt off. We'll see. This is not one of those investor things. This is more economic related. Let's take a look at the economic package. That's going to move this. There's not too many people that they invest in the pairs, but not quite the. I don't think they really invest in the dollar. I mean, I guess you do if you buy savings bonds. That is a type of investment in the dollar, right there. So there's U.S. dollar index. All right, let's take a look at the economic package, see what we got going on. We'll start off with, hey, here's Max Payne, provided they don't change it on me today. Okay, so far, 705. All right, and that's for all of the 0 DTE, all of the options that expired today. Okay, 705's Max Payne. You can see it's we're kind of like hovering right around 708.50, around that area right there. Put to call ratio 1.2 puts for each call that expires today. Remember, those index options expire 4/15. Let's take a look at economic calendar. Really light calendar this week. All right, you can see nothing really major or market moving happening here on Monday. Not much happening on Tuesday. And today is Wednesday, right? Hump day, right? Yeah. So not much happening today either. And not much happening all this week. So maybe CPI comes out next week. I got a hunch it does. All right, NBA mortgage applications at 7 o'clock this morning. So they already came out. Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations. Not really a market mover. It comes out at 10. Got a petroleum report, which comes out almost every Wednesday, 10:30, all right, unless it's a holiday or they want to move things around because somebody's going to speak. All right, and then tomorrow we've got jobless claims at 8:30. Possible market mover. I don't see the job market looking terribly upside down or going in the wrong direction, not yet. Chicago Fed National Activity Index, 8:30 tomorrow, along with the jobless claims. PMI composite flash, 9:45. Not petroleum, but natural gas inventories report comes out at 10:30 on Thursday. And you can see for the rest of the day, it's kind of flat. And on Friday, really light day on Friday, consumer sentiment at 10 o'clock, rig count at 1. That's it right there. So whatever direction the market's moving in, there's not much on the economic front to squash their thunder. All right there. So let's take a look at earnings. We do have some big earnings come out this week. Okay, so Wednesday after the close, that's today, we got Lam Research and Tesla. Tesla is tech. All right, so $1.5 trillion. Not quite, how do I say it? Not quite tip of the spear tech, like, if they were doing the Grok AI that comes out of X.com, it used to be Twitter.com, okay? Now, if we were using some of that, that would be kind of tip of the spear tech, but this is not quite tip of the spear tech right now. That AI is the tip of the spear tech right going on right now. So you can see Tesla, that's going to be tech. All eyes going to be on that, and Lam Research. You can see $1.5 trillion. Lam Research, $1/3 trillion. Got some others here. Got GE Vernova, $269 billion. Philip Morris, $245 billion. IBM, $237 billion. They're going to come out tonight. All right, IBM along with Tesla, Lam Research. Of course, all eyes going to be on Tesla. All right, Texas Instruments, again, just like IBM. All eyes going to be on Tesla. All right, so But there's a lot of tech here. This is tech. IBM. This is tech. Texas Instruments. All right. Lam Research. I think there's some tech in Lam Research. Pretty sure. All right. AT&T, 185 billion. But everything's going to be looking at tech in order to move the markets right there. Okay. So we'll see what investors do or what the money managers do with Tesla. Again, what happens in the night sometimes gets corrected in the morning. So here's Thursday. Intel, all eyes going to be on microchips right there. That's going to be a big one. 343 billion. That's after the close on Thursday. American Express, 227 billion. That's going to be in the market open. SAP, more software, not quite tech, but software. 222 or service and software. 222 billion. That comes out tomorrow night with Intel. Thermo Fisher. Pretty sure that is controls, not positive. 195 billion. All right. Next Era Energy, 191 billion. Union Pacific. All eyes going to be on Intel, really. All right. Because they make chips. All right. We want to make sure those chip makers are doing well. Right now, they're in a nice uptrend. I think SMH up at new all-time highs. We can take a peek at that a little bit. But all eyes going to be on, of course, Tesla and Intel. Anything with tech, tip of the spear AI kind of stuff. Friday, Procter & Gamble, 341 billion. Southern Copper, 159 billion. If they want to report tomorrow morning or tomorrow night sometime. HCA Healthcare, 106 billion. Again, more familiar names. Nothing here really market moving. All right. Even though Procter & Gamble, it's got a lot of market cap there. Probably not going to be a market mover, okay? The ones that are going to be the market mover are the big cap FANG, FNGU stocks, all right, in the Mag 7. Those are going to be the market movers, and all those ones that are heavily dominating the AI space, which would probably most likely be like NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, anybody that makes chips. All right, that's going to be the market movers for me. All right, so let's take a look at the pre-market. All right, so again, nothing on the economic calendar is going to move the tape. All right, more likely to see the earnings move the tape. All right, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's go over to pre-market and see what we can extrapolate from price action in the early morning here. Now things change. All right, an uptrend that's existing right now may be a downtrend by the time an hour later. Okay, so things do change, but I'm gonna show you the tea leaves that as I see them. Okay, we've got, all right, from here to here, got consolidation, okay, and then we've got consolidation, or you can call it price action or consolidation. We've got price action over prior price action. So that's a bullish environment. So I'm looking for 10-minute uptrend. So I'm going to trade a continuation of the current 10-minute uptrend, if there is one. All right? There's no telling if there's going to be one, okay? I would especially like that 10-minute uptrend if it breaks over the pre-market highs, okay? I could say the pre-market, post-market highs, but you can obviously see there's no post-market highs. We've already cleared them. That would be the one right there. So over the post-market highs, if I have a 10-minute uptrend, I would be looking for price to breach that pre-market high up there. Okay, so I would like that 10-minute uptrend. So that would be the green erases red entry. If there's a 10-minute uptrend and I'm trading it, which is more than likely going to be the case, that will be my first target, is the pre-morning high right there. All right, and my second target, of course, is going to be yesterday's high right here where we melted off. Now bear in mind, when we get up here, we melted off right here yesterday. All right, so again, if we get up there, I will be taking profits up there as well as taking profits right here, okay? And if we get up even higher than that and we go after the all-time high, which is going to be right up here, be taking profits into that 712.56 area. Okay, so taking profits at this high, which is probably 709.50, 709.60 area. Taking profits at the 710, right up here into the 711 area, 711.30 area, and into the 712.50. So about every dollar will be a profit-taking event or option. All right, I have the option of taking my profits there or adding to. We'll see what happens, but I want to trade that 10-minute uptrend that comes right out of there. So let's back off here and let's see what we got. We got a green erase red over yesterday's high. That's 711.30 right there. We got pivot 706.75. Okay, above it, bullish, below it, kind of bearish. Red erase is green below 702.60 right there. So we had a little bit 1.5% correction yesterday. You can see us come off those highs, pull back to this area right here. I was kind of looking for make a 2.5%. That would have taken us down to about 697 area. All right. But instead, all we got is like a little 1.5% correction, which is fine. So we'll see. They're acting bullish in the pre-market. We'll see what they want to do. I'm going to trade the trend. If the trend is working, that 10-minute uptrend, I'm going to jump in and fall in line. If that's where the money wants to flow into it, I'll trade that 10-minute uptrend if it continues. It's kind of rolling over here right now. I don't know. This candle could shape up in 10 minutes, so we'll see what happens. So there's SPY. There's the game plan. Again, I want Friday options on the multiple of 5, specifically for the open interest. I like the strikes at the money. All right. I want that penny for penny performance if I can get it. I really like the out of the money a little bit better. They're a little bit cheaper for me. But if you want more performance, you want in the money or at the money for higher performance with your price action, when you're trading options. All right, I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Again, my favorite trade is the 10-minute uptrend that resides inside the 2-hour uptrend, that resides inside the daily uptrend, inside the weekly uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend, all over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's my favorite trade right there. Got all the bigger time frames supporting my little 10-minute uptrend, make it last longer, hopefully make it go further. All right, so there's price action for SPY in the pre-market. Again, I'm interested in trading a continuation of a current 10-minute uptrend. All right, if we break these lows of this base right here, okay, so anywhere below, anywhere below for me, below 705.75. I'll just call it 705.70. 705. Yeah, 705.75. Okay. If price is below that, and we're in a 10-minute downtrend, all right, I'll want to trade that. Okay, I want to trade a 10-minute downtrend that happens to be below 705.75 for a trip back down here to visit yesterday's lows and to finish that 2% correction that we were looking for yesterday. Okay, so that's my plan. Trade the current 10-minute uptrend. All right. Or if we get below, we get a 10-minute downtrend that's below 705.75. I'm interested in trading that down to, well, of course, the gap fill. All right, that will be my first target, gap fill. Then comes yesterday's low. Then comes the big fat whole round number, the 700 number. And then, of course, that target, 698, which would be the 2% correction that I was looking for yesterday, okay? So there's my plan for today, okay? Trade the current 10-minute uptrend if it's still there when we get there, all right? Remember, it's an hour from now, okay? Or trade the 10-minute downtrend below 705.75 or 70 right there, okay? SPY on the 10-minute. All right, let's go take a look at QQQ. QQQ got the same thing going on, all right? Got a little 10-minute uptrend. Actually, you can see QQQ digging out new all-time highs in the pre-market. That's bullish, all right? New all-time highs digging out in the pre-market. Remember, this is an all-time high. Yesterday, they made a new all-time high. That would be the 21st. That's yesterday. And you can see them digging out in the pre-market already, new all-time highs. That's a bullish setup right there. So we got bullish price action over prior price action. That's a bullish environment. All right. Kind of got the same thing going on here on QQQ. Interested in trading a continuation of the current 10-minute uptrend. Again, below this area right here. See that? See this valley low right there. So below that, 645.07. Interested. Well, actually, we can go a little bit closer. We can go right up to the body of that candle. So 645.80 below 645.80. Got a 10-minute downtrend that's shooting through there. Interested in trading that down to the gap fill, and then to yesterday's lows, and then down to 640, the whole round number. All right, and those would be my targets on the south side. All right, green erases red over 650. Pivot 646.65, kind of the same thing it was yesterday. Red erases green underneath 642.50. Again, I'll be tapping that a little bit early, right through here. All right, as price gets down underneath 645.60, 645.70 area. So there's QQ. Same thing. I like the Friday. All right, I like the Friday options on the multiple of 5, specifically for the open interest. All right, I like the strikes at the money, all right, or in the money. All right, they're going to give you higher performance. But if you got a small account, you want to get some out of the money, you may favor those, and I understand why, because you don't want to tie up all your money in just 2 contracts that are in the money. So I get it. When I have a small account and it's right around 30 or 25, I do out of the money because I don't have much to trade and I don't want to risk a lot and I want to live a long life with that account. So I trade out of the money. So if you've got it and you've got strikes in the money, you're going to get much better performance with those in the money and at the money strikes. Okay, so if price is currently 649, the 649 strike or the 650, all right, right there, that would be like at the money and in the money. 648 would be in the money. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP right there. All right, so if there's any questions, post them in the room. I hope to not miss any questions. I know I did last night, but I did get that answered. I put it up there in the alerts. I apologize for missing that question. Anyways, that's it. Thank you. I will talk to you all if there's no questions. I don't see any questions in the room. If there's no questions, I'll see you guys in about 35 minutes and we'll open up the markets.